And today on the Going North podcast, we're bringing some fabulous humans from across the globe. Today's a special occasion, baby. Like I said, the next 100 episodes are going to be greater than the last 300 because we got one heck of a guest for you today. Because the guest I have today, my goodness, his purpose is to spark men and women to brilliantly lead cultures, companies, and communities. Success Magazine calls him one of the top 25 that will help you transform your life. And this puts him in the same category with Oprah, Dr. Brene Brown, and Tony Robbins. And on top of that, his Goldcast video that was released in Facebook has over 90 million views. So let's give it up for the man himself, Simon T. Bailey. How you doing today, sir?
What's going on, Dom? So good to be with you.
Yes, indeed. It's great to have you on, my friend. I didn't think that reading one of your books 3 years ago would lead me to talking to the champ himself. So I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Wow, awesome.
Yes, sir, indeed. Yes, sir, indeed. Well, as you know, with all introductions, they're not allowed to be 75 days long. So mind filling in any cavities I might have missed about you?
Yes, grew up in Buffalo, New York. Go Bills. This could be the year. I live in Orlando, Florida. I have been in Orlando for a number of years professionally, six different companies, 10 different jobs. Last job at Disney. Since leaving Disney, with work with almost 1,800 organizations in 50 countries. And I wake up every single day to find a way to hug people with my words. That's it in a nutshell.
My man says hugging people with his words. Heck yeah, man. Like folks need that now more than ever, thanks to COVID robbing us of hugs.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And what I love about you is that you've been in this business for, I believe, was it 18 years now?
Yeah,
17?
almost 20 years now.
Yes, indeed. 2 decades, and you went through four reinvention periods, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, so how was that process? Because I feel like that's a major thing that elite performers do is that they always reinvent themselves. How was that process for you?
It's excruciating when you're in the midst of it because you want to hold on to, in the words of Dr. Marshall Goldsmith, what got you here won't get you there. So you don't want to let go of what has worked because there's a moment of fear that in letting go, you lose your identity. But when you begin to do the deeper work, you begin to recognize that who you are is bigger than what you do. And what you have done was for a reason and a season and to a point. But in the words of Dr. Henry Cloud, there comes a place to experience necessary endings where you have to purge in order to grow.
Hey, you're definitely right about that because I remember what was this powerful story. I believe you're trying to get on the $1 million round table of speakers for a few years, and
Yes, yes, and had 9 years of rejection. I think they said, bless his little heart. One day he gonna make it. 9 years of pure rejection. And when I asked for feedback, dog, they said, you're not that good. So
dang,
I had to go and hire some coaches. And I said, can you help me out just a little bit? And sure enough, we went back the 10th time and they said yes. And I was the opening speaker, main stage, 9,000 people from 72 countries. I remember it like it was yesterday in Toronto, Canada. Oh, Canada. And it was just an amazing experience. Yeah, amazing experience.
amen to that. An amazing experience indeed. So, what was probably, in addition to hiring a coach and polishing your craft, what are the lessons you learned from that experience?
I think there are a number of lessons I learned. First of all, failure is not final, failure is only feedback, and feedback is the breakfast of champions. So many people want to be successful, but they forget that in the dictionary, failure comes before success. So embrace failure. I think the second big lesson is having the ability to put your ego aside. Ego stands for edging greatness out, and recognizing sometimes you need someone who can polish the rough edges that you have so that you can begin to brilliantly shine, right? And I think the third thing to always remain in a posture of having intellectual humility.
Mhm.
It's not enough to be the smartest person in the room. You need to understand when you walk into what we may call the virtual room is in you. But you don't own the room. You understand how to come into the room, and in your silence, your voice is heard because your silence speaks. And so, in coming from a place of intellectual humility, I don't have to know everything. I just need to know the people who know everything and ask them the right questions. Yeah.
Hey, that's another powerful point you brought up, and I feel like that's something that needs to be taught a lot more today, if not by humans or heck by life by default, is intellectual humility. Because with the internet and folks being able to Google everything, folks feel like they should walk around with a pyramid on their head because they feel like they have all the answers to everything when that may not be true.
You don't have to have all the answers. It's just accessing all the information that's available to you.
That's right, indeed. That's right, indeed. So, in speaking of access, I feel like I should probably ask you this question since you've been telling a lot of other folks to ask that question is probably what failures in life have taught you the most lessons, whether it be in entrepreneurship or speaking, whichever you choose.
Probably if I was to look at entrepreneurship and speaking, kind of combining the two, I left Disney after saying I wanted to become the number one guy at Disney. And the journalist put it in print. I wasn't supposed to talk to the media. He puts this in print. And Disney said, "You done lost your mind." What? They invited me to find my happiness elsewhere. So literally, that was mistake number one. I call that career suicide, right? And then probably the next big mistake that I made failure wise, and why, we have 90 million views of a video, is because I leave Disney, I'm out speaking, I'm the man. I mean, phone is ringing, but I lost a house. I lost a home after living in a house. I made money but had no meaning. I was pursuing power but had no purpose. I was chasing success but had no significance. And my baby girl, who's now a freshman in college, came into my home office many years ago, and I could see that she wanted to talk, but I was emotionally unavailable to her. And her then mother said to me, "You give everybody the best of you, but you give us the rest of you, and I don't want the leftovers anymore." And I realized I was chasing after this thing we call success. I had the accoutrements of success. I had the Range Rover and the Benz and in a circular driveway and $1 million home in a gated community. And we vacationed at the Four Seasons in Singapore and took the kids to Hong Kong. But you lose that in a divorce when what you're doing becomes bigger than who grounds you. And what I say now, because of that failure, after being married for 25 years, went through the divorce, is no matter what you attract in accomplishments, it means nothing unless you build your life around who will be crying at your funeral. So that was a very painful lesson, that I learned, that I had the trappings of success and being written about, "Oh, you the man." But being the man means jack if your house is jacked up. So, so here's the visual. I'm trying to tell you how to be successful, but my own house has a leaky roof, a leaky roof. And so I've learned as a result of how to keep the main thing, right? So now I'm a little bit up the road, and what I recognize is all the things that I thought were success are insignificant. They mean nothing because it was all about me instead of about we. So, probably the third and final thing that I've learned thus far is the ability to come to the awareness that when you leave this earth, you can take none of it with you. And you leave an imprint on the head, the heart, and the hands of all those who have come across your path. And did you just understand how to be more human, to say, how can I serve you? How are you today? What can I do for you? You need anything? And when you come from that disposition, that's more than money. That's meaning.
So many nuggets of wisdom right there, and you mentioned significance, which somewhat is talked about, but really not talked about enough. It's usually more success than anything else, but significance, that's always going to weigh a lot greater than success ever will.
Yes, totally.
Yes, sir, indeed. So, what do you think might be missing from at least from people talking about significance? Because I feel like folks may talk about success, but there may be missing parts of it, like what you mentioned, story about your daughter actually coming in and telling you that that she was getting the rest of you and everybody else is getting the best of you. Like what else do you think might be missing from today's society when folks are chasing success?
I think respect for humanity. A part of some of the challenging conversations that's happening right now, domestically and globally, is we have forgotten how to respect each other. It doesn't matter what the pigmentation of our skin is, doesn't matter what side of the tracks we come from, it doesn't matter what our socioeconomic status is. It's, do I have the ability to see you in your humanity and recognize I need you and you need me? When we come to that place of I need you and you need me, we move from communication to connection, from success to significance, because significance is, how do I help someone who can do nothing for me, not looking for anything in return, but because of the law of reciprocity, what goes around comes around. I choose to show up in your humanity and never judge you, but accept you and understand you, though I may not agree with you. And that's the conversation that's not happening as it relates to significance.
Ah, yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so true. So true. And we actually need more of those conversations out there, especially respect for one another and the action behind it, too.
Totally. Absolutely.
Yes, indeed. So needed. So needed. So, my goodness. So, since this is far from your first rodeo, is there a question that you wish you'd be asked more often when you're in the guest side of the game?
What would I tell my 22-year-old self that I know for sure at 52? What would I tell myself if I could go back in time, having the gift of this wisdom and failure as my guide? What would I say? What would I tell my 22-year-old self? That's the question. Yeah. And I think what I would say, number one, it's more important to love than to look for validation from others. In other words, love the skin you're in. If someone would have told me that at 22, loving who I am would make all the difference in the world, I would never look for affirmation, confirmation, and validation in all the wrong places and all the wrong faces. That's number one. Because when you love yourself, you don't need anyone to value who you are because you love you. That's the first lesson. The second lesson, I would say, is if somebody come to you and tell you to buy Home Depot stock and you've never heard of, you need to buy Home Depot stock. Don't let us good stock pass you by. The third thing I would probably say is books are more important than television. You can watch TV, but when you read a book, you have the ability to leverage a person's successes, failures, understanding, knowledge, information, wisdom, and that person, just for a sliver of a moment, becomes a mentor as they share their story. And you begin to learn through their story how you can overcome whatever you go through wherever you are, because books, a really good book, will cause you to take out your pen and start writing notes in the book. I'm old school. Start writing notes in the book and say, oh, that's good. And this is what this means, because it's like a volcano that erupts inside of you to say, I can relate. And it's in the conversation that you begin to have with the author of the book to say, I agree, I disagree, I don't understand, tell me more. But then it jogs your memory about something else that you read. And that's just something television can't do. Nothing against television. I think television is important, it has its place, but never underestimate the power of a good book. That's what I would tell my 22-year-old self. I would say, stop that running around and staying up 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning and say, you know, I love you. Hang the phone up and read a book.
Oh man. Hey, back to that. Read a good book, and that sounds like a good T-shirt. Don't let a good good stock pass you by. Uh, the Church of Investors, right there, Investors Church. Don't let a good stock pass you by. Oh my goodness. Well, speaking of good books to read, your most recent book, if I'm not mistaken, Be the Spark, 5 Platinum Service Principles. I got to commend you for it because I was like, man, like, oh, this is paperback. I like the cover. And then I looked inside and I'm like, wow, all righty. Now I know why it's $25. This is the best interior design of a book I've seen in a long time. I'm talking about a very long time, like interior design, interior colors. So, what inspired you to really make this book probably your most well-designed book, or probably your strongest book yet, to be honest? Because I read both Release and Shift Your Brilliance, but this one, like, I've underlined a lot more in this book than probably the first two that I've read from you.
Yeah, so a few things. First of all, you can't say you worked at Disney and did some work for Ritz Carlton and you have a Pookie and them operation kind of book. That just does not go together.
It's true.
See, what happened was no. So that was one thing. The second thing is I came across some research that said one of the core skills that companies and businesses must think about in the future is design thinking. So, for
Mm,
example, Apple is all design, from going into the stores back when we can go into the stores, right? When you look at that whole layout, the Genius Bar, it's all design thinking, clean design. So I said to the team, we want a book that's the Tiffany of books, that
mm.
was intentional about design. So literally, it took us about a good year and a half to get it right, because I wanted it colorful. But I said we want it down to the details of the paper that has to be 80-pound paper, where everything. So we've had some people too, they just smell the book and they feel the spark. I said, did it smell like sweet potato pie? You know? So we wanted a book that was beautiful. And then the content, hello. So we spent time. I work with an instructional designer. She has her master's degree in instructional design and used to work with me at Disney. And I said to her, we want to lay this book out. So if people could literally take a chapter and teach that, can we do that? So we laid the book out that way and made sure that we paid attention to the 4 styles of learning from Harvard. Within every audience, there are people. The first style of learning is, why should I listen to you? Second style of
Mm.
learning is, where's the data? So we've got data in the books. Third style of learner is, give me just 3 things that I need to do. So you'll notice at the end of each chapter, we give very how to steps and specificity. And the fourth style of learner is, I'm overwhelmed. Tell me one thing to do. And that's what we tried to do in laying out the book, to give people enough snackables that they can implement in their life and in their business. So that was the whole approach to the design of Be the Spark.
I love it. Love it indeed. Definitely are being the spark, not only with the design, but with design thinking, because that's rarely talked about nowadays, especially in this space of really just motivational leadership and just encouraging other people. Like a lot of folks are publishing millions of books and close to billions now, and you got to set yourself apart. And you did a wonderful job with this. You and your team did wonderful with this.
Thank you.
Amen to that. So you mentioned the design thinking, and I know you're a heavy researcher, especially after having that encounter with the gentleman who talked about how he's in the research business. So what would probably be the first step someone would take to really expand their vocabulary in addition to reading great books?
Yeah. So one of the things that is so available and interesting, if you go to dictionary.com, it allows you to register for the word of the day. And each day, dictionary.com will send you the etymological meaning of a word, the pronunciation of word, the parts of speech of the word, just the whole 9 yards every day. So dictionary.com. Another way to really begin to stretch your lexicon is to subscribe to magazines that you would normally subscribe to, like, for instance, The Atlantic, Scientific Journal, because they are not written for the eighth grade reading level, they're written for the college level. And the individuals that write, they don't use 50 cents words, they use $2 words. So you know that you're reading something where you're like, I gotta look this up. What is the meaning of this word? How do
Yep.
they say this? And now with Google, you can type in a word and it will pronounce it for you, so you can hear the correct way to say it. Don't be like the guy who went to church and the preacher said, turn to the book of Malachi, and he said to his friend, did he say Malachi or Malachi? There's a difference between Malachi and Malachi and Job and Job.
I can't believe I just now hear Malachi. Okay. It's like Fosachi Malachi. Okay. It's called Versace, like, and it's called Malachi.
Malachi.
And it's Job. Like, don't you mean he has a job? No, Job. Oh man. Oh man. Diamond level goodness, baby. Diamond level goodness. Oh man. Well, I've got this magical questionnaire that was on your profile. I usually don't borrow from other sites, but I had to ask this. So what's the difference between customer service and customer love? Because that's the first time I heard of this.
Customer service is a department, customer love is a mindset. So when you go to Chick-fil-A, you see a customer love mindset because they ask you what your name is, and at the end they say, my pleasure. I don't know of any other fast food quick service restaurant that does that, because Chick-fil-A, it understands the power of a mindset, not just giving service. Anybody can get service. That's a department. That's check the box. That's table stakes. Mindset is, I look for the opportunity to think, not just do.
Hey, that's what I'm talking about right there. Like that's why Chick-fil-A is really beating every other fast food joint, and they're only open 6 out of the 7 days of the week.
They make more money per square foot than anybody else in the space. Because they're not in the chicken business, they're in the people business. And they begin to embed the microchip into their head, hearts, and hands that we are in the mindset customer love business, not just the customer service business.
Customer love business. All righty. That's right. The CLB right there. Amen.
Mhm.
Amen to that. That's what I'm talking about. So since you kind of answered my usual final question for the guests, I'll probably skip ahead to the special question for returning guests. And that is, if you were called to give the final keynote of your life in the whole entire world, 6 billion people had to tune in to your 90-minute keynote. No distractions, no smartphones, unless that was part of the presentation. What would be the message of that keynote address from Simon T. Bailey himself?
Welcome to the Spark Age. In the spark age, there are men and women that are absolutely divergent in thinking, and they are no longer listening to the messages from AKA the Capitol from the Hunger Games, or listening to what everyone is saying in the Matrix. They are finding a way to hack their way into the future. And as they hack their way into the future, they're understanding how to uncode things that no longer make sense, recode by creating the future they want, and identifying that they have to delete from their heart drive and their mind drive things that slow them down in the matrix so that they can accelerate at the optimal level. Welcome to the Spark Age.
Boom. There we go. Call that a stage drop. Forget the mic drop. My goodness. Spark age, baby. That's right. The spark age. That's what I'm talking about. Yes, indeed. The lightning that we all need. And speaking of spark, I hear you got a whole package of brilliance for folks to snag. So where can folks grab it?
Yeah, just go to simontbailey.com/freebies. There's some great info there. They can get a free chapter of Shift Your Brilliance. And also, we've created a little surprise gift called Virtual Confidence, where we give you 10 tips to show up virtually as your most brilliant self.
Oh, all righty. Well, there you have it, folks. Especially those 10 tips, because folks are going to be needing them nowadays with this COVID not in hibernation yet. So definitely pick up that. I know I'm going to snag that like 2 library books, indeed. Yes, indeed. So there we have it, folks. Head over to simontbailey.com and grab all of his wares. It'll change your life. You'll have a new spark to really charge forward in life, indeed. So, any parting words before we close up shop, Simon?
In the words of George Wallace, remember, I love you, I believe in you, and there's not a darn thing you can do about it.